Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the United States, and I'm excited today to show you a card that I'm making as part of our Global SU Vlog Hop. What makes me even more excited is that we are now doing the hops monthly instead of just every other month. So we will be bringing you projects every single month from a group of demonstrators from around the globe. So I hope you enjoy all of the presentations. Our theme for this one is casing the catalog. What is casing? Well, CASE stands for Copy and Share Everything. And there are actually a couple of other words that fit, but that's the most common one, Copy and Share Everything. And so for this one, we are actually copying the cards exactly from the catalog. A lot of times when I'm doing cards that spark, that I found in the catalog, it's because it sparks an idea, and I will not copy it exactly, but I am going to do that today. My project uses the Color and Contour bundle, which has quickly become one of my favorites in the catalog. And I'll be copying a card from page 98. And so I will be copying it exactly as I said. And so I'm going to turn my camera around so that we can get started. All right, so first let me show you the inspiration for my card. In casing the catalog, I decided I wanted to recreate this card. And I'm going to show it to you right here. And then I'm going to show you how I did it. So it's really easy to copy and recreate a card that's in the catalog because as demonstrators we have access to the recipes, as they call them, the sample recipes. So just contact your demonstrator and she can let you know what supplies you need to recreate the card. So like I said, this is the one we're going for on page 98 in the catalog with this wonderful Color and Contour bundle. The bundle consists of this stamp set. I love the font. It's very different. It's very pretty. And then the companion Scalloped Contours dies. And we will be using the largest one and then the second largest one for the inside. And let me show you too everything that you can cut out. So these are all the sizes of the dies. I like to cut them out in advance so I know what I'm working with. And then this one you can actually thread ribbon through even along the long edge. It's very cool. And this is the smallest one, great for a tag. And then the scallop. And then in addition, it cuts out the flower and then the flower grouping here. So those are all the dies that come in the bundle. And of course, if you purchase the bundle, you will get a 10% discount. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is bring in some scrap paper to work on, and I'm going to show you how I marked it. Because I saw from the card that there are 7 sections, 4 that are colored and 3 that are white. So 7 sections on that scallop die, which I have pre-cut. And I've also pre-cut, like I said, the smaller one for the inside. So we're going to keep that handy so that we can stamp on that as well, but we'll just keep it to the side for now. And so the first thing that I did was line it up with the lines on the grid paper. And I found that there are 21 lines, which is perfect. That means I need to mark every 3 lines. And by doing that, that makes my 7 sections. So every 3, I'm just going to make a little mark. And you'll see why that comes in handy in just a little while. And then the bottom. Okay, so really 8 lines, but 7 sections. And then I also have a piece, just a piece of scrap paper that I recycled from just a piece of computer paper. And that's all you need. So we are starting, we don't need it quite yet because we're going to start with that bottom section. And I'm just going to use my hand to hold this in place. And I'm going to bring in my blending brush, and the first color that's used is Pacific Point. Now if you'll notice, this is very light and Pacific Point is a dark color. So what you want to do is make sure that you start off of the die. And what I mean by that is we're going to put just a little bit of ink tap or swirl in there, and I'm going to line it up with that bottom line and just hold it down. But I'm going to start off of the card, and then hit basically the bottom. We're going for an ombre effect, and so you want that bottom to be deeper, and then as you have less color on your brush, because you've used most of it on the bottom section, you just bring it up a little, about to where this line is, which hopefully you can see. At first I had another piece of paper here to block out the section, but I found that it made too rigid a line, and by doing it this way it really does show more of an ombre effect. And with that Pacific point, really you don't need to even dip it in for a second color, because all you want is just that light effect. And even this, you can see the line. That's what I was using, like I said, when I did my sample, but then I found that this was a better way. All right, I'm going to switch brushes because I have one dedicated for each color, and I'm just going to make sure the blue is off of that. That's pretty good. And I'm going to bring in my green blending brush, my green tinted brush, and Mint Macaron is the next color. And now, actually, before I do that, I'm going to put some repositionable adhesive on this because I want it to hold the paper down. So a little bit of repositionable adhesive. So I have section 1, section 2 is going to be white. So I want to move it up here to the third section, and I'm just going to put that on, and I'm going to straighten this out because it's crooked. And you can line it up on both ends. So the dot there, and then the line on the other side, and make sure it's straight across the top. In fact, I'm going to move it just a little bit and redo that. So I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. And now I know where I want to start with my Mint Macaron. Same thing, get a little bit of color. Now this one is a lot lighter, and I'm just going to make sure I hold it down here. It's a lot lighter, so you don't have to do as much off the paper. But the same thing, you're going to hit this section up until that next blue line. That's your objective, is to not go past that, and really laying on more color at the bottom, and then just swirling up as you have less ink on the brush, and it creates that beautiful ombre effect. You can make it as dark as you want. You can make the line as distinctive as you want until you get the look that you're going for. I'd say that looks pretty good. You can even go in and kind of double check. Yep, that looks good. And I like the way it fades at the top, so I'm going to call that good. And next we have Blushing Bride. So the same thing, and there's adhesive on there, but I know that'll come off. And I'll line it back up. We have a white space, and so we're going to line up, and I'm going to switch the side of this just in case I don't want any green in there, in with my pink. It probably doesn't matter too much, but I just want to make sure. And that looks pretty straight. And now we're ready for Blushing Bride, and my pink brush. And the same thing, I'm going to start off my project paper, off my cardstock, start on my scrap, and just lay that color down, again mostly at the bottom, until I get the look that I want, and then bringing it up toward that blue mark that I made, so I know just how far up to go to create that ombre effect. And I'd say that looks pretty good. And you'll see I actually used the blue on this, but it's not showing through. Some people rinse theirs out, but the directions say just to kind of scrub it a little bit on your scratch paper, and when I did that, the blue comes out. As you can see, there's not blue in there, it's just my wonderful Blushing Bride. And then last but not least, Highland Heather. And I'm going to move up to the last section. Actually, I'm going to move it down this time just so that it's easier to work with. Maybe right here is good. So as long as I'm lining up by those dots, I'm all set. And whoops, we're gonna, let's see. I think we'll stay with the pink since the sides are not as wide. I think that will be okay. And actually maybe I'll move it down this way. That's what I'll do. Just gonna move it over a little bit so there's not too much of that blushing bride there. For my surface to work with, I'm gonna grab my last brush that I've dedicated for my purples, and then the same thing, do the same thing. And I'm happy with that. And actually though, we are going to keep those ink pads handy because for the next part, now I've got, like I said, a little bit of repositionable adhesive that just wipes right off. Get that out of the way. And we've got our wonderful ombre. And so the next thing we're going to do is some stamping of the flowers, or of the flower. And what I saw from looking at the photograph is it looked like they stamped it randomly. So they didn't hold the flower in the same spot each time. And we're actually going to bring this one in too because we're going to do a flower on the inside. So maybe we'll do that first. Do our little flower on the inside. And then one up toward the top. And now when I re-ink, I'm going to change it 45 degrees so that each flower looks a little bit different. And then you've got one over here. Re-ink. Turn it again. And re-ink and turn it one more time. Oh, and then while we have the black out, we're going to do the sentiment. So it is two different stamps. One says "Here for you now." That looks pretty good. And the other one says "In better days ahead," and "In better days ahead." Have those flowers a little close, but I think it'll work. So now we have our sentiment. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to use the stamp with the speckles, for lack of a better word, to create a little bit more color on each flower. So we'll work backwards. I've got my Highland Heather, and I'm going to do the inside first. And this one. And then make sure you clean in between. And then we'll bring in the Blushing Bride again. And it really doesn't matter which way you turn the stamp, it's just to give the flower just a little bit more color that coordinates with the color that you have put on with the blending brush. And next we have Mint Macaron. And last but not least, Pacific Point. And I'm kind of purposely using the smaller speckles just because it's so much darker than the ombre. So I want it to be a little bit of a closer match, I think, by doing that. And then all we have to do is put our card together. So I have a Highland Heather card base, which I'm scoring with my bone folder to help it to lie flat. And for the inside, I'm just using my Stampin' Seal. Make sure you don't use that repositionable adhesive. You want the good stuff now so it stays put. And actually we can take this away. And now for this one, it is popped up with dimensionals. And normally I would use the long ends like this, which I can use one, but I've used the others for another project. It's just easier when you're doing something that's this large because you want to make sure you get good coverage with your dimensionals so that it's not kind of sagging in the middle or anything. So be generous with your dimensionals. And then we just lay that on the front. And our card is complete. And I'm going to bring in the catalog again just to show you. Looks just like that one. So that is our project for today. Thanks so much for joining us on the Global SU Vlog Hop. Make sure to look in the description to where to hop to the next project. And if you like what you see, please like my channel and subscribe. And if you click on the little bell, you'll be notified when I have a new project uploaded. So again, thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.